In this 231st episode, my husband won't lead our family in the 10 pitfalls that follow. Also, I must tell you, this show may not be for you. It really might not be because quick tips don't work. If you're expecting quick tips and something to last a minute or 5 or 10 minutes or something, that's not what this show is about. In-depth subject matter is what works in the marriage coaching field and when repairing marriages. Okay, and that takes time. So I ask you to be patient and really learn how to save a struggling marriage. Get live Catholic Marriage Help Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, and CatholicAlpha.com. Here we go. So let's get into it. So the question of the day, again, if you guys have anything you want to comment on or you have any questions about marriage, put them in the comments of the chat and I will do my best to get to them. So basically, we're going to get into these couple questions and I'm going to answer them for you to try to get you to understand what this show is about. Again, today's show is about not being selfish, how to not be selfish in your marriage, how to put God first in your marriage so that you don't lose your wife or have a failed marriage. And so first question we're going to talk about real quick is of all the divorces filed, 80% are filed by women. And why? Why is that? First of all, you got to understand women, how their body works, how their psychology works a lot of times. I'm not saying all women, but again, of all the divorces filed, 80% are filed by women. And why is that? So women enter the midlife crisis too. We think about midlife crisis, we think about just men, right? Oh, he's into a midlife crisis, he's going to buy new sports cars, trying to travel, get another woman, and all that kind of stuff. But guess what? These days, it has started. The last few years, but probably more, women have started in their midlife crisis too. And so what that means is they start to wonder about things like, what am I here for? Like, what am I in this marriage for? Does he really love me? Why does he pay attention to me? And all these kind of things. And if you're a man and you don't understand women and you don't, not just that, not even understand them, but just take a look at your wife and start to pay attention to her, then you won't understand what she's going through. You won't ask questions. You won't have conversations. Next, the next reason that I think that a lot of women file for divorce. So remember, 80% of all divorces filed, up to 80% are filed by women. That is a lot, man. That is a lot. And these are a lot of the reasons right here. Next is menopause causes significant hormonal problems. If your wife is in menopause, we'll say if your wife is 40 or over, especially 50, in her 50s, she most likely has menopause. So menopause means what? She stopped having her menstrual cycle and she started to lose her hormones and everything about her body changes, including her mental state. And if you as a man don't really understand menopause, how it works, what it does to your wife's body, first of all, you're going to have a horrible sex life. Okay, because you're gonna be trying to get her to do things she just can't do no more, or doesn't have the feeling or want to do. Okay, and you got to remember, she's not fertile anymore. That's what the hormone part comes in. All the hormones are gone. Her hormones are leaving her, and so her fertility is leaving her. So when you're not fertile, what does that mean? You're not trying to have sex. You're not trying to make love. You're not trying to be intimate. Matter of fact, you're not even thinking about it as a woman. Okay, men, guess what? We're always fertile to the day we die. If we live to 110, 100 years old, 99, we are still fertile. Okay, it might not be as fertile as when we were 18, of course, but we still can have children. And that is the big, big difference between men and women. The next reason a lot of women file for divorces is husbands neglect them. You got a woman, you don't give her no attention. All you want to do, guys don't really realize that when you don't pay attention to your wife, she's going to get attention somewhere else. She will. Her friends, her parents, her so-called best friend, another man. What are you going to do? Is your job that important where you can't spend 1 hour a night talking to your wife? Is your job that important where you can't spend 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week on date night? You can't have a conversation with your wife. You can't ask her and get into her head, her heart, her mind, and soul and get what's going on. If you neglect your wife, you will lose her. I don't care how great you think your marriage is. And a lot of you, the reason you're in the position that you're in today is because you neglected your wife and she's got tired of it. Okay. The next thing is unfulfilled as a woman and searching. So if a woman, she gets older, even a lot of times when she's young, they get unfulfilled. Like most women today are unfulfilled as women. They are confused. They don't know, am I supposed to stay home and have babies? Am I supposed to go to work and have careers? Am I supposed to get a husband and get married? Am I supposed to live with him? What am I supposed to do? And they are completely confused, and the men don't help because we take advantage of them by sleeping with them. When you sleep with a woman, you cause a lot of problems and psychological problems with her, but that's another show for another day. Okay. And so women start to feel unfulfilled as women. So what do? They're mean, they're surly, they don't pay attention, they don't listen, they combat you, they fight you, they argue with you, and because they're trying to find themselves too. Or the opposite end is they ignore you, they avoid you, and things like that. The next reason 80% of women are filed divorces is unfulfilled sexually. Normally, women don't even know that they're unfulfilled sexually. And this is why one of the things that I have to teach men all the time is how to understand when your wife is unfulfilled sexually. It goes with the unfulfilled as a woman. They go hand in hand. If you don't know that, you're gonna be doing silly stuff that's gonna screw up your marriage or your relationship. Okay. If your woman is unfulfilled sexually, that means she is going to allow other men to get her fancy, or she's going to nag you, get on your nerves. She's going to be mean to you and things like that. And if you thinking it's personal, it's not really personal, is that you have to learn how to be a better lover. Okay. That's just what it boils down to. Okay. The next one is no emotional connection in the marriage. So if your wife feels that there's no emotional connection in your marriage, she will eventually file for divorce. Why? Because she's asking, what the heck am I here for? What am I here for? What am I in this marriage for? What did I have all these kids for? And that goes along with neglect and all of that kind of stuff. This is why you got to pay attention to your woman. If you don't pay attention to her, she is going to start thinking about things that you don't want her to think about. Okay. And when one of the major things, the reason for divorce is there's no emotional connection in the marriage. And if you as a husband allow the emotional connection to go, you will lose your wife. You will. Or she will completely avoid you and make plans to leave you and get rid of you. And she is not going to tell you. Okay. So the next one is narcissistic and selfish tendencies by her husband. Now, look, I don't get into the narcissistic thing, okay? Because everybody does it. And basically, it just means extreme selfishness, okay? And that's basically what it means in a nutshell. So if you are a selfish person, a narcissistic person, only thinks about themselves, what is in it for them, and they go above and beyond the selfish state. Okay. And if you have a wife and you have children, they are going to pick that out real quick. Matter of fact, most of you guys probably can't even get a woman if you're like that, unless you hide it. I know guys that hide their narcissistic and all that kind of selfishness. And then when they get married, then the wife sees what kind of creep she married. Okay. And so if you have these tendencies, the woman is loves you and she's bonded to you. So she'll put up with it for a while, maybe even a decade or so, maybe even 2 decades. But after a while, she sees what she has and she will get rid of you and she will go to divorce court. Now, you Catholics out there, you think, well, we're not supposed to get divorced and everybody, and as a Catholic, with the church is against that, God and Jesus Christ against divorce. And I'm going to tell you, like I tell everybody, nobody believes in divorce until they want one. I don't care if you Catholic or Orthodox Christian. I don't care what you are, Muslim. I don't care. Nobody believes in divorce until they want one. And these things are why women file for divorce, man, because they get sick of it. They get sick of it. And then another thing about us men is we don't listen. We don't listen to our wife until it's an extreme emergency. And what's the extreme emergency? Oh, I come home and the bags are packed and she done got up. She has a U-Haul out in front of in the driveway and she's pulling off with the kids in the back. Oh, now all of a sudden I'm gonna give her attention. Now all of a sudden I'm gonna do what she needs and try to do all the chores in the house and try to do all the cooking, try to go out and get her gas tank filled up with gas, and I'm gonna try to do all this stuff and get her flyers and all this stuff. And your wife is thinking, I don't care what you do now. I'm sick of you. I'm tired of you. I'm out of here. And you guys think you got a good marriage or you got one of them boring, lackluster marriages and think your wife won't leave you, you got nothing coming. Divorce court is in your future. Next. The last one is terrible marriage communication, which is what? Your tone of voice, arguing at her, yelling at her, not having the proper tone of voice when you speak to her. You degrade her. You blame her for everything. Everything's her fault. Nothing's your fault. That kind of stuff, terrible communication, man, that stuff will lose any woman. And that's another thing that men got to understand. If you can't make the woman you have happy, how in the hell you think you're going to make the next woman happy? If you think about all the relationships you had in your life, you couldn't keep a woman happy. You know why? And I went through the same thing. I thought, you know what? I just get me somebody else. Guess what? That don't work either. Because after about 2 years or 3 years or 10 years or 20 years or whatever, the same thing starts to happen again in your marriage and or in your relationship, and you don't know what's going on. Well, what's going on is I got to fix me. Once I fix me, I draw the right woman to me, and then she will want to be with me. My wife will want to be close to me and love me and hold me and be devoted to me. Okay, so that's the first question of the day. I hope I answered that. I hope I helped you guys with that. Now, listen, we're going to get into question number 2 of the day. Number 2, should a man ever think about his wants, desires, and needs ever? I'm going to say it again because a lot of you don't really understand what I'm saying. Should a man ever think about his wants, desires, and needs? And here's the deal. Today, men, we are effeminate. We're lazy. We're spiritually lazy. We only do whatever we want to do. We don't give the proper attention to our children, our wife and our kids. And we do give attention to our kids. We don't discipline them properly. We take all kind of disrespect. We don't do anything because we bought into the Kool-Aid of the society and left God. Okay. So if a man, I'm gonna just be straight up with you. If you ever think about yourself before God, then your wife in marriage, then your children, that's not a real man. Our job as a man is to die for something greater than ourselves. God, wife, children, and if your country calls, you got to go do that. Okay? And so try to get that in your head, please. Now, of course, not the hallmark of true masculinity is true man never considers his wants and desires above that of God, wife, and his children. That is very effeminate and selfish. How many guys do you know that all the time you talk to them or you see them, they're always bitching and whining about something? Was the government did this, my wife did this, the kids did that, my boss is like this. Don't you get tired of them kind of men? Sometimes you say, man, shut up and suck it up. That's what Jesus Christ did. That's why he didn't defend himself in front of Pontius Pilate and the Jews. He's like, man, I'm not even gonna say nothing. You know why? Because they ain't gonna listen to me no way. And as a man, that is what a true man is. You have to learn how to control your passions and control yourself like Christ did. That's why Christ is the ultimate man and is the trueness of authentic masculinity. Also, this thinking about yourself before God, wife, children, and sometimes your country is very unmasculine and turns wives and women off. Now, they're not going to tell you because women, when they get bonded to you and they love you, they're not going to tell you a lot of things because they love you. But when they leave your butt, they're going to tell you all the stuff you did wrong. How many times you seen a divorced couple do that? She never said one thing in 20 years. All of a sudden, she leaves him and takes the bags and goes to another apartment. All of a sudden, she tries to unload everything the man did in 20 years. And he's going, what the heck are you talking about? It's not fair. Okay. Also, it causes disrespect from your wife. If you as a man think about your wants, your desires, and your needs and what you want, your wife will start to disrespect you because she believes that you don't love her, that you love yourself more than you love her, which goes doubly for your kids. Causes disrespect from your children. Your children will start to disrespect you too. If they see you every time they need you, you're not there, or you're at work or whatever. And I understand, even your kids, everybody knows we got to work. But it's when we come home and we don't realize we got a wife and kids here and they need us too. I don't care if you've been working 16 hours. You got to come home and give all you can to your wife and kids, and then you go to bed. That's how you do it. That's how you suffer and sacrifice as a man, and that's how you keep your wife. Okay, because then she starts to realize, oh my God, he does love me. He's doing everything he's doing. He's so tired. He's working 16 hours. He still comes home and does this and that for me, and he still loves me and cares for me and takes care of us. I don't care if you have a feminist woman. They all think the same thing. Okay. And the last one for the question of the day is not place what he wants above that of God, his wife, and kids. So please don't do that, gentlemen. Don't do that. Your job in this life is to suffer and sacrifice, and that starts with prayer and suffering and uniting your soul with Jesus Christ. All right, bam. Real quick, let's get into the top 10 reasons we as men must serve God first or risk a failed marriage. I know I'm moving fast, but I got to be out of here in 40 minutes. But I want to give you guys some meaningful stuff that can truly help you to start to thinking about what is going on in your marriage. This is the problem with us, and me included, man. We have to stop when you have a wife, she has to be the focus of 90% of your thoughts, her and God. God and your wife, they have to be the focus of 90% of your life, of your thoughts. Why? Because, man, this is what you signed up for. You owe this to God to grow closer to him. You owe it to your wife because you told her when you married her, you was going to give her the world. You're going to put her on a pedestal. She's going to forever be the most important thing in your life, and you'll never let her down. How many times over how many years you've been married have you done that? Now, listen, you might think that what I'm saying, man, is hard and harsh, but I'm telling you, this is 2024. If you don't try to understand how to communicate with your wife better and grow closer to God, you will lose both of them, and then your kids will follow. I can tell you there's nothing more devastating to a man than losing his wife, because he instinctually knows if I done lost my wife, my kids are next. So how do I figure that out? How do I overcome that? And that comes with you starting to get deep about the thoughts of God and your wife and understanding what they mean to you, and that your job is you're responsible for your wife's soul. And are you going to let her just do whatever and get away? No, you can't. One of the things I tell men is, look, Satan's got your wife, man. Are you going to be a wuss and you're going to let him keep her? Or are you going to put on your sword and shield and go get her? And this is what we as men must learn how to do. Stop following the world, man, because they don't care about you. They don't care about your wife. They don't care about your kids. They don't care about your job. They have their own problems. They have their own problems. Your friends too. Stop going to your darn friends all the time. Go to your wife and let her be your confidant. Let her be the one who you are vulnerable to, because that is how you keep her. Telling your friends and your so-called buddy that you've been friends with since you was 5 years old, or some college buddy, oh, that's my best friend. If you calling somebody that ain't your wife your best friend, you got problems. You got serious marriage problems. You don't even know it. If your wife's not your best friend, if your wife's not your God, if your wife's not your confidant, if you don't listen to her, you don't let her into your heart and your mind and soul, you're going to lose her in today's environment. Now, I'm not talking about 100 years ago. It's a different world. Today, your wife, she can go out and get a job and support herself. She don't need you. She can go out and listen to her best friend, who's going to tell her, and her work buddies are going to tell her, girl, you need to leave him. You take that from him. He did what? See, man, it's time that we as men start to understand what's happening up in this world right now. And what's happening is the Catholic Church has pulled away and does not fight for anything. And so guess what? All of this evil and stuff has come. As the church, we've allowed all this stuff to come into society, and Satan has a lot of influence, man. And so if you don't understand that, if you abandon church and abandon Christ, what'll happen is you don't have the grace in your marriage to keep your wife submissive and to keep your children submissive and to have that grace to keep the peace in your home. This is why you must serve God first, because you need that grace. That's what you need. Now, look, a lot of y'all can say, hey, man, the supernatural world don't mean nothing. I don't care about Satan, and I don't believe in demons and all that stuff. You ain't got to believe in Satan, and you ain't got to believe in demons. But guess what? They believe in you. Nothing in this world is bad luck. Nothing in this world is a coincidence. It all has to do with Jesus Christ and Satan. That's how it works. And it's time for us to leave the world alone and let them do their thing. And our job as real, true, authentic men is get down and get dirty and get busy and get our home right. Okay. Okay. So today, again, we are discussing what happens in marriages when the husband refuses to place God first in all that he does. This is holy lover gift number 1, which states a holy lover places God first, his wife in marriage second, his children third, and he never thinks about himself. He is last in that column. Okay, so what is a holy lover? A holy lover is you becoming the man God created you to be, and 2, you becoming the husband your wife needs. If you do those 2 things, you're gonna have a great marriage. You're gonna have a great family too. You'll see. You'll see. You just got to suffer a little bit and sacrifice. Okay. Why? Because without even realizing the ramifications, we're inviting evil into our marriage and home. As husbands, we must battle the temptation to place our Lord conveniently to the side and only pull him out when we are in a dire situation. Think about it. How many times, most of us, what do? We're supposed to pray at the minimum of 15 minutes a day. That is our obligation, the minimum obligation as men, women too, but we're talking about men, husbands. Our minimum is 15 minutes a day. How many of us give God 15 minutes to pray or mental prayer? How many of us do that? Just be honest with yourself, man. Because how you gonna prove and get better if you're not honest with yourself? Okay. Okay. So that next, let me so in all, most of us, then we want to put, then when things go bad in our life, we want to pull God out. Oh, Jesus, help me. Oh, God, please come save me. Like Jesus is some kind of Superman that we call Superman when we would have screwed our life up and sinned so much and crapped everything out. But all of a sudden now we want to call Jesus come save us. And God's going to tell you, just like it says in scripture, man, I'm going to spit you out of my mouth because I don't even know you. That's how it works. Okay. First, I will show you practical and real life consequences of what happens when God is only a figurehead and not first in your life as a man, husband, and father. These top 10 disasters are a direct result of our refusal to follow the proper order of things. In essence, the way God has designed the family for success, the natural law, the natural order. So, real quick, what is the natural order? The natural order is God, Jesus Christ, husband, wife, children. The reason it's set up like that, the reason the reason Christ is supposed to submit to God, the reason the husband is supposed to submit to Christ, the reason the wife is supposed to submit to the husband, and the reason the children are supposed to submit to the mother and the father is for demonic protection, defense. Is set up like that so the demons can be fought and battled against and stay off of your family and off you. This is why when you don't submit to Christ, you start to have problems. Now, a lot of people think that, little sins that they call little sins don't matter. Yes, they do. They start to build up. And then you start committing venial sins. Mortal sins, which mortal means death, right? And so once we start doing that as men, we're the leaders and defenders of our home. We start to allow the demonic, we open the door to the demonic in our home. This is why most of us start having marriage problems. It's real small and they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Why? Because as men, we're not praying. We're not in spiritual warfare. We're not listening to our wife. We're not listening to Christ. The Holy Spirit talk to us. We hard-headed. And so the more we don't listen to our guardian angel, the more pain God allows in our life. You must understand that as a man. This is how you get through this crap, man. This is how you get through this. You've got to understand as men that this life is a test, and that's what it's about. Your job as a man is to get that wife and those kids in front of Jesus Christ so they're able to go to heaven or at the minimum purgatory. You are responsible for them. God has placed you responsible for that beautiful woman and those beautiful children. I don't care how old they are. How are you going to handle it? Are you worthy of that, man? Are you worthy of that? A lot, see, today, man, we don't really realize we're so busy and watching TikTok and the shorts and 1 minute videos and 4 and 5 minute videos, please help me, or just to be entertained. And then really, what are we really doing that's worth anything? We too busy on the golf course. We ain't taking care of our home, man, which is our castle, which has our gold and platinum and silver in it. It's our wife and our children, our relationship with God. This is what we are here to take care of, not to go play golf, man, not to watch football and basketball and tennis and Olympics and hockey and baseball and all that stuff. I'm not saying don't do it at all. I'm saying, man, please understand what you only have 24 hours, and you only got 100 years to get your wife and get your life together and get her life together and help your children get where they got to go and give them a foundation. Do you really have time to be on the golf course every spare minute of your life? Do you really? Or are you being effeminate and avoiding the tough stuff? Okay. Second, if you stay to the end of this video, I will give you 18 action steps to help you as a man grow closer to Christ, thereby boosting your marriage and filling it with grace. So here we go. So here are the top 10 reasons you must serve God first or risk a failed marriage. Okay, so number one, your wife will not submit to you. We kind of already talked about it. We're going to go a little deeper. So grace, holiness, virtue, and obedience to God is what causes our wife to submit. I'm going to read that again. Grace, holiness, virtue, and obedience to God is what causes our wives to submit. If your wife is combating you, challenging each and everything you do and say, she's arguing with you and not listening to the things you say, she's rebelling against you and your way of doing things. She doesn't feel close or bonded to you. She is doubting your feelings for her and trying to see if you still love her. There's little grace in your marriage because of your failure to enter the spiritual battle in your marriage and home. And when there is not grace in your home, it opens up the door for the demonic to enter, causing unrest and later on full-blown chaos. Guys come to me and their wife wants to divorce them or file for divorce or divorce them. Most of them think that it's some trick is going to happen right now. No, it's easier to keep Satan out than to get him out. This is what happens when for decades and years we neglect our responsibilities as a man. And then when the horrible thing happens of divorce or separation or something like that, all of a sudden we think we just got to do these few things for a while and everything's going to be cool. No, it ain't. It ain't. Once we allow Satan to get a foothold in our home, man, it's really very hard to get him out. It takes a lot of work from you, a lot of suffering, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of things from you because you have special graces given to you by God to defend your home against the diabolical, the evil one. And 99% of the men in the world don't know that. That's why we don't pray. That's why we don't do spiritual warfare. That's why we don't fast. That's why we don't go to adoration and go to mass and go to church and join the choir and do all these things that it takes to get to build grace in our marriage and in our homes to keep the peace. But instead, what do? We let our wife do whatever she wants. We let her and she go and do what she wants. We let the kids say and do whatever they want, get disrespectful and do all that kind of stuff because we don't want the problem. Our wife is nagging us. So what do? We do whatever she says so she'll leave us alone. Is that being a real man or is that succumbing to Satan, to evil in your house, in your castle, which you are responsible for? Okay. Number two, your children's view of you is low. If we don't honor God and place him at the top of our priority list, Our children's view of us will be low as men, as fathers and husbands, okay? As fathers, when we are selfish and place our thoughts and feelings above that of God, our children begin to test us more and become more unruly and disrespectful. I'm gonna ask you a question. If you have kids, they disrespect you and they curse, they call you names, they pout in front of you, they don't do what you tell them, they disrespect their mother. Why do you think that happens? Why? Why do you think that's happening in your home? You know why? Because the husband the husband is not being a real man. And so that means that God is allowing these things to happen in your home so that you would start taking care of business, so that you will start treating your wife the way you're supposed to, so that you get your kids under control. If a kid can disrespect his mother and his father, what is he going to do out there in the real world? So God is going to make it worse. Your kids are going to get worse. Your wife is going to get worse until what? You, as a husband, as a father, man up. They are only mirroring what they see from us, as well as doing what we allow them to get away with because of our lack of discipline in ourselves and our lack of disciplining them. Children know bullcrap when they see it, especially in their parents. As a man, you are not fooling anyone, especially your children. Your wife may put up with it for a while because she is blinded by emotional connection and her love for you, but the kids will mirror you. If you aren't holy or morally sound, they will become the same way and act out. If you don't go to mass or church, they won't either. If you on a regular basis consider your wants above God, they will do the same and consider the wants above you and their mother. You've got to remember, you raised the kids. We raised these kids. So when they get out there in the world and they become moral degenerates, and or they start having babies all over the place, start living with their boyfriend or girlfriend, they start having babies and bringing them home. They start disrespecting you, don't talk to you, and leave you. Guess why they doing that? Because you raised them. That's what they do. We want to blame society and other kids for what our kids have done. No, we there's something that we did. Now, listen, what if you are a solid parent? Now, I say this lightly because now everybody's going to be thinking, oh, yeah, see, that ain't me now. No, if you are a solid parent, which means you have given, you listen to your children, you've loved them, you've had balance between discipline and love, you told them the 10 Commandments and the natural law of God, you introduced them to Christ, you've taught them how to survive in the world, how to get a job, and all of these certain things. And then your kid goes out there and shoots up a school. Okay, that's probably not your fault. Okay. But what I'm saying is, we've got to be open and see and realize what's happening in our home. Okay. Number three, if we don't put God first in our marriage and in our life, our marriage will fail. Our marriage will fail. Without God as the center of our home and the defender from evil, protecting it from the evil one through daily spiritual warfare. That's our job as a man, to protect our home against the evil one in spiritual warfare. Okay. Our marriage will take a heavy toll. Without grace from God, the challenges will be greater to stay in and make the marriage work for the best. Why do you think women file for divorce 80% of the time? They do, because they think that if without God, they don't even know it. Women just know something ain't right and something's missing. Okay. Number four, um, your marriage will be lackluster. There is almost nothing as worse as a lackluster, boring, or mediocre marriage. If a man doesn't have fire for God in his church, how does he expect to have lifelong fire, desire, passion, devotion for his beloved wife? See, man, that's why we need the fire and with God. It takes three to make love. It takes three to get married. God, our beloved, and the beloved. You, God, and your spouse, your wife. That's what we do. That's how we do this. And if you can't get enough fire for the one who created you, how are you going to have lifelong 40, 50, and 60 years of fire and desire and passion for your wife, especially when she starts getting 50 and 60 and 70 and 80. She loses her looks, she gains a little weight, things like that. Number 5, your marriage, your home will be attacked. There is no doubt without your devotion to Christ and his church, you open up the door to the diabolical in your home. It will seem like bad luck, but there is no such thing. If you as a warrior don't stand up and fight Satan for your wife and kids, who will? If you as the man, the protector, the defender of that home against all things, government, thieves, murderers, demons, if you don't protect them, who's going to protect them? Your wife ain't got the same powers that you have in the home. Her powers come for dealing with the children. Okay. Number 6, your children will grow up screwed up. Believe it or not, I've talked about that a little bit, but your children will grow up screwed up. We all think our kids are going to grow up be the best human person possible. Really? We really all believe that. They're 2 years old running around all of a sudden, and as they grow, they just, they start growing they don't look at us the same way. But we think they're going to be fine. They're not fine. Most adults in this country are not fine. Okay? Without us battling for our kids against the evil one, without you loving, cherishing, and placing your wife on a pedestal, without you standing up and raising them as God commands, without you being a proper father and disciplining them properly, they will grow up and be moral degenerates and will begin to refuse the natural law in them that leads them towards God. Our job as parents is to introduce our children to God. Why? Because that's why we're here. We're all here to send saints back to God, to procreate, have children, love them so that they know God, love God, and serve God. They become saints. And when they get there, they go to heaven and they get to spend eternity with God. That's why God created us. God didn't create us to spend all day in the bowling alley and on the golf course and watching pornography and sitting there watching NFL football 25 hours a week. Okay? Please, I know this sounds harsh, gentlemen. I know it does. I know you're probably like, man, why are you being so hard on me? I'm being so hard on you because I have to do what I'm telling you to do. Ain't you tired of this crap, man? Really, ain't you tired of it? Ain't you tired? You've got to be by now. Some of you are 80 years old, 90 years old. Some of you are 50 and 60 years old. Ain't you tired of this crap? Ain't it time that we start doing something different? Yes, it's hard. I know it's hard. But man, please, I'm doing this and telling this because I care about you as a human person and as a husband and a father, and I understand somewhat of what it takes to be special and to be a hero in this world. Okay? And if you're not a hero to your wife, a knight in shining armor, and a hero to your children, there's a problem, gentlemen. There's a problem. And it's our job to start to figure out what that is and start to get rid of it. Okay. Number 7, you will be lost, no mission, no direction. Ain't you tired of not knowing your direction, your purpose in life? That's why God is necessary. That's why the Catholic Church has an answer for everything to lead you to God, to Christ. People hate the Catholic Church not for what it is, but for what they think it is. And I'm trying to get you as a Christian to really understand that the faith is hard. It takes work. You think Jesus Christ died so we could sit around and not do anything and not take responsibility for the gifts we have? Okay? Without obedience, devotion, and loyalty to God, you will eventually stop in the middle of your life and ask, what is your purpose? What are you here? And where are you going? Why are you here and where are you going? These are questions that grown-up men ask. If a man is 35, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, and he's not asking himself these questions, he's still a little boy. He's still trying to play little boy games. And God is asking us as men to grow up. And the way we do that is we make him a priority. Because that's our goal, that's our purpose. Okay? These questions can only be answered through groundedness in the Christian faith. These are only questions to be answered by man seeking and resting in the Lord. You may not believe me now, but sometime in the future, you will understand and hate what you have become and where your life is leading. Gentlemen, I ask you tonight, I ask you to begin to ask yourself, where is my life going? What is my purpose? Why has God put me here? If I don't believe in God strongly, why don't I believe in God strongly? Where am I headed? Where are my wife and my children headed? Number 8, you, your wife, will never become one flesh. Without Christ, first in our marriage, we will never truly become the couple we were supposed to be. One flesh is important. St. Paul talks about it in Ephesians 5:21 through 33. Become one flesh with your wife. Your wife is anybody that calls your wife a partner, get the heck away from them, because they don't mean husband and wife. Or your wife is just a buddy, somebody, that she does whatever her responsibilities in the house, and she goes to work and no, that is not your wife. Your wife is your beloved. She is your beloved, man. Your best friend, the woman of your dreams, the mother of your children. She is not your partner. Okay? Start thinking of your wife as your beloved. The gift that God has given you to help get you to heaven. Okay? There will always seem like something is missing. Okay? When you're not one flesh with your wife, there will always be like something is missing. The longingness for closeness and true intimacy will always be there. It takes 3 to make love. It takes 3 to get married. God, the beloved, and your beloved. Okay? Number 9, your wife will place most relationships above her marriage. Don't you hate it? It starts out slowly. At first, when you guys got together, you was everything. You guys did everything together. You were best friends. You ate together. You slept together. When you're first married and stuff, you did all these wonderful things together. You couldn't be without each other. And then what happens? All of a sudden, you ain't the most important person no more, because your wife's not the most important person to you. You say she is, but do you act like she is? It's a big difference. I know it's hard to show an individual person love every single day and give them all that you can, because we are inherently selfish beings. But that's why you're a man. You're a logical being. Your job is logic. Your wife's job is emotion. You're logical. You can think through these things. If I don't tell my wife I love her, if I don't hug my wife, if I don't kiss my wife, if I don't do special things for my wife, if I remember her birthday, if I don't talk to her and love her, she's going to start to rebel against me. Okay? So without God first, your wife may begin to see you as the most important person in her life. Without God, she may start to see that you're not the most important person anymore. She may begin to place the kids, her parents, her friends, etc., above you and your marriage. Remember, marriage needs grace, and with that grace comes submission by your wife. Number 10, you are turning your back on God, so he reciprocates. People really believe that they can do whatever they want in this world, and God will continue to give them grace and never leave them. That is so far from the truth. God will not be mocked. He will continually, if we continually sin and use God only when we want him, he will eventually leave us to ourselves and give us over to the evil one. This is why there's suffering and sacrifice in the world. And we could talk about collateral damage and babies dying later. That's not the same thing. But when we experience pain in our lives, it's because our soul is moving too far away from God. And he's like, nah. He's like, nah, enough of that. Okay? And so, real quick, after this break, we are going to go over 18 action items you can do to place God first in your life, thereby creating a holy lover, special, and great marriage. It's going to take time, but you can do it. Bam. If you're getting value from this podcast and would like more personal marriage help, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an opportunity to work with me personally for free. Yes, within 30 days, learn how to become a better husband that attracts your wife back to you. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com and get a plan tailored specific to your marriage and situation. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me the chance to help you using my personal and gained experience. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior coaching for your marriage. Again, SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com. That's SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com to become the man God created you to be and the husband your wife needs. Consider marriage coaching and visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an improved marriage within 30 days. All right. We're back. So real quick, fellas, in 9 minutes, we're going to go through it. Hang with me now. Hang with me. So here's we go. 18 action items to sacrifice your life for God and your marriage. Everything we've talked about today, everything we've went over, there's a purpose, there's a reason. Now I'm going to say, look, man, what do you do? How do you do it? How do I do what you're saying, Jerry? Where do I begin? Boom, right now, we're going to do it. So again, we must learn to serve and place our wants, needs, and desires below God, our wife, and our children. So what are the actions that we can do to get this ball rolling? So number one, place God at the top of your mind always, striving for holiness, sainthood, and perfection. The more God is on your mind, the more the demons leave you alone. Number two, prayer throughout the day, offering up your sufferings and uniting them with Christ, asking for the grace to endure. Number three, attending daily mass, often 7 days a week in the Catholic Church. You can go to church and go to church service and go to, we call it mass, 7 days a week. Sundays, we call the high mass. It's the big boy. With the other 6 days of the week are lower service masses, but we still get the Eucharist. We still have communion, okay? All right. So number four, read scripture daily, at least 15 minutes per day. Now listen, try to understand. I'm not saying do all of this right now. What I'm saying is pick 2 or 3 or 4 things and you start to do them. Once you get used to them, then you start adding stuff. Okay, that's what all serious Christians do. We start out slow in prayer and then we build and get our knowledge up. Okay, we add more and more to challenge ourselves to grow closer to God. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, next. So read scripture daily, at least 15 minutes per day. Okay. Number 5, read the Catechism of the Catholic Church daily to help you understand the Bible and the sacred traditions of the church. Number 6, study and embrace the lives of the saints. The saints didn't start out holy and being a saint. They have lives like we did, and they are canonized for a reason because they went through what we're going through. Find a saint that you love, that you connect with, and learn about them. Number 7, start an apostolate or ministry to evangelize your environment. Like me, I started Catholic Alpha to help people in their marriages. You might join the choir. You might join a Knights of Columbus. You might be an usher at your church. Whatever it is, start a ministry or participate in the ministry, okay? Number 8, embrace leadership in your parish or church. Sit on committees, mold your church using your gift of masculinity, attend events, and get involved. Number 9, on Sundays, participate in the mass, the church service, perform the readings, cantor, lead the altar boys, take up the collection, usher, get in the choir. Just be seen. Show the women we are there and be an example to other men to get off their butt. Number 10, attend confession frequently. Mortal sin immediately, venial sins monthly. You men that are not Catholic, you can't go to confession. But what you can do is you can stop mortally sinning. You can ask God for forgiveness and show by your actions that you are serious. Now, listen, you're not sure if he forgives you or not, but you can at least put up a good thing. You Catholics get your butt to confession at least at the minimum monthly, okay? Or immediately if you commit a mortal sin. Okay. Number 11, frequent adoration. Get yourself in front of the Blessed Sacrament daily. Okay. Adoration is where you go to church and there's God there on the altar and Jesus Christ on the altar and you just sit with him. You sit with him. In the Catholic Church, you can go 7 days a week. Number 12, study the faith. Read books. Listen to Catholic radio. Find holy men that are teaching and preaching the truth of the faith accurately and not watering it down to a single drop of rain. Listen to the podcast of holy men. Listen to YouTube channels of holy men. Number 13, personal prayer time with you and God alone, at least 15 minutes a day. 14, at least 15 minutes of meditative prayer per day. The Rosary, Divine Mercy Chaplet, novenas. Okay. Also, meditative prayer. You can meditate on scripture. Okay. Meditative prayer is the link to God, not vocal prayer. Not, oh, Jesus save me. Oh, Jesus, thank you for this. No, not vocal prayer. Mental prayer, where you use images in our mind to connect with the scripture and prayers, and we connect with God like that. That is what's powerful. Okay. Number 15, pray the Angelus. The Angelus is a powerful prayer for the Blessed Mother to intercede daily at noon. So intercede means to pray for us, to intercede and to pray for us and you individually. Okay. Number 16, morning offering daily, offering yourself and service to God. So every morning before your feet hit the ground, you pray a prayer of morning offering. Okay. That could be 3 Hail Marys. That could be an Our Father. That could be you offering your day to God, whatever is a morning offering that you want to do. Okay. Number 17, daily examination of conscience. This will help purify your spirit as you look in the mirror at yourself each day. Consider what you have done to offend God. It's very important that every man look in the mirror and do an examination of conscience every single day, which means you look at your life for the day and where did I offend God? And the way you do that is the 10 Commandments. You go through the 10 Commandments and you ask yourself, did I offend God in that way? And if you did, then you ask for forgiveness. Or if you're a Catholic, you get a confession. Okay. And the last one is fasting. Fasting and is the most powerful prayer there is, along with the rosary. Those are the 2 most powerful prayers, the rosary and fasting. If you don't know what fasting is, it is the art of denying yourself every little pleasure, which is food. Okay. Fasting trains you in suffering, sacrifice, and denial of your urges. It matures you, teaches you perseverance, fortitude, discipline, and patience. It forges you into true man. I ask you, begin fasting. Bam. Get Live Catholic Marriage Help Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern, live streamed on YouTube, Facebook, and CatholicAlpha.com. All right. Putting it all together, gentlemen, putting it all together. The fall of the men in the Catholic Church has really had a devastating effect on society. The church has pulled back and has ceased to fight for the family. Without the Catholic Church and its dogma, discipline, and doctrine, society has withered into a society of moral degenerates. Without God and his church, what reason is there to be good? Without the true teachings of Christ and his church, people are left to their own fallen faculties and selfishness. So, there is no wonder that the evil one has so much influence in the church and in our marriages and home. A true man's natural law of serving must include God first. If he can't serve God, there is no doubt that he will begin to serve the evil one. Why? Because there's no doubt that we are all motivated by either good or evil. There is no in between. And those who think there is are seriously being influenced by Satan himself. It's called demonic oppression. For this reason, men must enter the spiritual battle daily and ask God for protection for his wife and kids from the diabolical. Again, true man, a man of courage, never considers himself first. This is the mark of authentic masculinity. This is the mark of Christ. And I ask you, please, God love you. Bam. And as we always do, please again share this. If you're listening on Apple Podcast or Google or Amazon, iHeartRadio, whatever, give it a like and share it. We're not going to review today's content. If you want to, I'll have the replay up tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the morning. So you can listen to it tomorrow if you need to. Also, that's really it. So I hope you got something out of the show today. I hope that you try your best to implement the things that we talked about. And I hope to see you next Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern. Okay. And as we always do, we end with a quote from Pope Benedict XVI, which states, society offers you comfort. You weren't made for comfort. You were made for greatness. Now go forth, Christian soldier. The spiritual fight is up on you. Fast, pray, and prepare for battle.